welcome to another episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dayna Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. Guys, I've told you a couple of times now that Dayna Colber, who is the executive director of the state party, wants to give you the information. So we're starting today's show off something that we've both been hearing about from folks all over the state, and that is, what is the role of the precinct committee person? Now, today we're going to break it down, and we're going to go into depth about the roles, responsibilities, what the expectations are. Yes, we ask you to run to be a PC. We ask you to, if you can get appointed to be a PC, but you don't know what it is. You're letting us know that. So we're going to talk about that today. And I'm excited about it because I have a feeling, as a precinct committee person, I'm going to learn some things. Dayna, how you doing?
I'm doing well today. How are you, Dayna?
I am excellent. So let me ask you, reorg is finally done.
Yes.
Did you wipe your brow and say, whew?
This past weekend, after I had to attend one meeting, I just stayed at home and didn't talk to people.
I can dig it. I think this past Sunday, after the People's Town Hall, I disconnected as well, because there's a lot going on. And you know what? We can't take care of our community if we don't take care of ourselves. So I applaud you on getting the self-care that you need. Excuse me. So tell me, why did you want to talk about what it is to be a precinct committee person?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about what it means to be a precinct committee person, precinct chair, or PC. You might hear a variety of terms for that, because they are our grassroots level. There really are folks who are doing the work on the ground, and a lot of people don't know what it is. Like when I was county chair in Hamilton County, we would talk about our PCs and our precinct chairs. And, you know, as you have new people who are coming and getting involved, they don't know what it is. So I think having a good discussion about it and being able to refer folks to it in the future is going to just strengthen our party.
Excellent. And I will go ahead and make sure that I include the precinct committee chair handbook link in all the places that we post this information. So let's start at the beginning. What is a precinct committee person?
Yep. So a precinct committee person, like we said, that is the most grassroots, the smallest organization that we can have out of our party. So our districts, everywhere that you live here, it's divided into precincts. So the precinct chair is responsible for mobilizing the folks and talking to the folks in that precinct to make sure that they know what's going on in the party, know what's going on with their candidates, and get them out to vote. That's just a super high level overview of what that is.
Okay. And how often how do you become a precinct committee person? That's probably the best question.
Yep. So there are two paths to become a precinct committee person. So one path is during the midterm elections in those primaries. So next one is going to be May 2026. You can actually run to be a precinct chair or precinct committee person. And you do have to live in your precinct if you are going to run to be a PC. Now, the other option is to become an appointed PC, and that is to the discretion of the county chairs. And so if you miss the midterm election, for example, this past midterm election, you weren't a PC, or, you know, you live in an area where there are a lot of Democrats, for example, in Hamilton County, we have a couple of folks in my precinct, then you can be appointed to a different precinct. And so that really helps us with coverage of our counties to make sure that we have folks who are appointed and can cover the precincts as well if someone is not currently residing there.
Okay. And once you either are elected as a PC or appointed as a PC, what is the first responsibility that you have and by the way, these are all volunteer roles, correct?
Yes, these are 100% volunteer. Most of the operations in the party are volunteer.
Yes, I like to remind people of that because, you know, they always want to say what the party is and what the party ain't doing. And I keep reminding them, all you got to do is volunteer if you want change. Anyway, what is the first order of business for a precinct committee person?
So once you become a PC, then talk to your county chair. And we do have that list updated on our website. And then they can tell you, you know, what the next steps are. Ideally, you will then get out in your community and have some information that you've been provided by the county chair and start talking to your neighbors. Now, the county chair or whatever organization is set up, some of the counties have, township chairs who will help organize you, or other folks who will help organize the precinct chair. So whatever your county party structure is, you'll talk to that person and they can get you a list of folks that you should talk to and give you some talking points, and hopefully some literature to take out as well.
I love that. And so this type of person kind of needs to be an outgoing kind of person. You gotta have to have the ability to go talk to people. If you're an introvert, could you do this role even if you're an introvert?
Oh yeah, I'm an introvert, and I am a precinct chair. That is how I first got involved, was being a precinct chair. For my introverts out there, you have a script and you have talking points on what you're going to talk about. So you don't have to come up with a small talk, which is great for me as an introvert. That's one of the big things that can be a little bit of a struggle. So you're already going to know what you need to talk about with these folks.
And give us an example, since you are an introvert and I'm clearly not. Talk about some of the methods that you've used to get yourself more comfortable to go out and talk to people.
Yeah, so having that script is key, and being able to practice that ahead of time. Even though you'll be provided a script, it might be phrased in a way that you don't naturally talk. So you can adjust it into the way that you would naturally talk to a person. I also practice with folks, and a lot of our counties do hold practice sessions for you before you're going to go out and talk to people so that you can get more comfortable with that. You can also practice in a mirror. It's kind of like those general public speaking tips. Practice in a mirror, know your 3 key points, those types of things.
So is it important to know whose door you're knocking on? And if so, how do you get that information?
Yes, it is very important that we know who we're talking to, because you do then pass that information back to your county party as well as the state party. And so depending on how the party is structured in your county, it'll either be your county chair or someone who's designated, and they will actually be able to run a list of registered voters that we do get from the state. Registered voter information in general is publicly available. So we're not being creepy on you guys. And so we can run that list based on the precinct, and we can look at people who we think are likely to be Democrats, because remember, currently in the state, we do not register by political party.
Correct. So when you're out talking to people, you're knocking on doors, do you have to do this every week? Do you have to do this every day? Give us a little bit of the time frame and the time commitment. Yeah,
I would say if you have the ability to go out, fairly frequently, once or twice a month, that would be great. If you can do it more often, even better. Since we do not have elections on the books this year, this is great to just be able to go out in the neighborhood and remind folks that we do exist. And so, you can take a little bit more time in a non-election year to complete those lists. Also, being in contact with your county party and seeing what their expectations are too.
I love that, because we don't think about how impactful we can be when we're not asking for votes or asking for donations in the community, and how incredibly important it is for people to know who you are. So when you come back in an election year and say, hey, these are our candidates, would you support them? They're going to already know who you are. They're going to already be familiar with you and comfortable with you, because you've taken the time, right, to show up and just have those conversations. Give some advice, though. We hear it all the time, and I am, believe it or not, I'm conflict averse. I don't like conflict, right? I will, if I have to, I'll engage, but I really don't like to. Sometimes even talking to Democrats, we find ourselves in situations where people really just want to complain to you. They say that you say that you're with the party, and they just want to complain. How do you instruct people on how to handle that?
Yeah, so I would say, a lot of nowadays people want to be heard. So if you are able to sit with them for, 2-3 minutes, hear them, and then if you can find something that you connect with, let's say, a lot of people are scared right now. Let's say they're frustrated that, the Department of Education is being gutted. You have kids, right? You can connect on that. on, hey, this is something that's very concerning and important to me too. I'm going to take this note, but here's what the Democrats in the state are doing right now. And, Department of Education is a federal issue. So if you can localize it a little bit more and make sure that they know what's going on at the state level, then you can help educate them as well as hear their concerns.
I think that's an important aspect, because I think a lot of people think, sometimes you think you're going to knock on a door of somebody that's going to be a likely Dem, that it may be a somewhat friendly conversation, and it may not be. And so we have to be prepared, right? I remember being a candidate and having to learn how to deal with, conversations where people just really want to be heard. No one's ever knocked on their door before. No one's really ever engaged them. And so this is the first time they're getting someone who's officially with the party, and they just really want you to know what they're thinking and feeling. Talk about then, after you've had those conversations, people are going to give you feedback. What do you do with that feedback?
Yep. So as you are getting ready to go out, the person who's going to train you and give you that information is going to get you set up, most likely. We are trying to push everyone, as long as you're comfortable with an app on your phone, they'll get you set up with an app. And that will be where all of the information, the people who you want to talk to, are in there. It'll have, their address as well as their name. And then it'll have it'll have your script in there and a series of questions in there. So as you go through and, you talk about, let's say our focus is, hey, there are Democrats out here. You're not the only blue dot. What are you concerned about at the state level? And let's say that they are concerned about the budget right now, for example. Then we'll have options there so they can select that. It's like a survey. You can put it in there, and then you'll sync it, and then it'll go back to your county party. So when they're ready to go back to talk to this person, then they'll know, hey, the budget was an issue with them. So maybe we can talk about it more, or, if you are represented by a Democrat, then that Democrat who's currently in the legislature, we can give them a flag and be like, hey, maybe you can follow up with this person. There's also an opportunity, if something comes up that is not in that survey, then you can add a quick note. For example, I like to add if there's a dog at the house. So the next person comes up and, especially if it's someone who isn't necessarily comfortable with dogs, they can kind of see that and make sure that they can approach it in the way that's most comfortable for them.
Man, I'm telling you, a quick story. I was knocking doors up in the Geist area, and people like to have those invisible fences. Mm-hmm. And I was ringing the doorbell, and this big old Great Dane came around the corner. Talk about my heart in my chest. I about died. And the owners were so cool. And they were actually Republicans. They were like, we've never had anybody knock on our door. We're voting for you. But I was scared, because thank you for putting those notes in there. But back to the conversation. I love that you were able to then put that information in. And this is really key, I think. We often ask people to go to the State House, but if they have a 9-to-5 job, going to the State House during the day, during session, is very difficult to do. This is a way for them to get their voices back to the people in the State House when they have a 9-to-5 and they cannot get to the State House. Being a PC is so incredibly important and impactful in getting people's voices heard. Mm-hmm. I love that. So once you've had that conversation and you upload that data, what is the next thing a PC does?
Yep. So then some of the other things that we'll ask our PCs to do is help us find candidates, right? Our county chairs are one person. They have their one network, but we will have a network of precinct chairs depending on how big your county is, right? You're going to have 30, 40, 100, 200 people, and Marion County has 700. Right. That's a lot of people with a big network. And so, we can ask, hey, we've got these various roles. We're not just going to focus federally. In 2026, we're going to have clerks up, and those are the folks who run our elections. We're going to have a lot of very local county offices. So if we're asking our precinct chairs, hey, your network automatically is going to be bigger than mine because there are more of you and your networks are going to be bigger. Do you have a recommendation of someone who's going to run for office? Bring them to a meeting. Bring your friends to a meeting in general. And then, some of the extra things, if you want to be in above and beyond PC, you can organize neighborhood events. So, you can send out, hey, all of my neighbors, we're going to have like a driveway party. We're just going to have some lemonade. We're going to have some snacks when it's nicer outside. Get to know each other a little bit more. Get to know the folks who are Democrats or open to Democrats in the area and start to make those connections.
I love those ideas. And one of the things that I'm going to key in on is help recruit candidates. Dayna, you hear it like I hear it. Who is the party going to get to run to do this? And who is the party going to get to run to do that? Well, first of all, the party doesn't get anyone to do anything. People have to step up and volunteer. But if we don't know that these people want to do it and they may not know how to get engaged, PCs will help bring them to the fold. That means we can cast a wider net on the type of candidates that we are recruiting. I think there's this misnomer that you have to have certain connections to run for office, or you have to have good friends in high places to run for office. No, that is not true. When I ran for office, I didn't know anybody in Indiana politics. I didn't know anybody in Marion County Democratic politics. I literally went to the state constitution and looked at what the requirements were to run for the seat that I was running for. And depending on the seat that you're running for, it's either going to be at the state. Actually, the handbook is going to have all the races all the way down to school board. And looked at what the rules were. And when I saw that the only requirements were residential, I was like, you mean anybody can run? You don't have to. Don't believe the hype, right? Don't believe what people are out here saying on social media. Anybody who meets the requirements outlined in our state constitution can run for office. I just want to make that very clear because, Dayna, there are a lot of people out here just lying.
Yep. And, as Dayna said, you have to meet the requirements, right? I think, honestly, the only ones that have a little bit more requirements are the ones that require a law degree. And there are some age caps, right? But if you have the desire to serve your community, then you should explore running for office. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, right? And I'm not saying that, there might be personalities that are better suited or jobs that are better suited to do these types of things. But if you have a desire to serve your community, then you should definitely explore running for office.
And then if you're exploring running for office, knowing your precinct committee person makes it that's one less barrier, right? That's someone that's already in place, that understands the party structure, understands the party system, that can help navigate that individual. And that's why precinct committee people are so important, because you are now the conduit to someone who has been looking from the outside in and isn't really sure. Talk about some other things that precinct committee folks do.
Yeah, so I'm going to look at our PC handbook, which, by the way, we do have a very long one up right now, and we are shortening it so that it is a lot easier for folks to digest. So if you are looking at it right now and you see that it's, I don't even remember how many pages, probably 10, 15 pages long, don't be scared. We have condensed it. We are just finalizing that to make it a lot easier to understand. So like I said, recommending candidates, attending county party meetings. One of the other big things that PCs do is help us find poll workers. So, elections, we do have the clerk and we have folks at the clerk's office to run the elections. But the actual poll workers, when you go to vote, if you're a vote center county or if you're a precinct-based county, so you just have an assigned place, the precinct chairs help the county chair find those folks. And so that is another key thing, is you'll have to find, in general, in most of the counties, it'll be 2 folks. In some of the counties, it'll be 3 folks. It might be a little bit more if you're a vote center county. But you have to help us find Democrats to help run the polls so that the elections will actually happen. So, this, again, knowing the folks in your neighborhood will help make this a much easier process to find those folks to help recruit and make sure that those elections are run successfully, because state law requires fairly balanced, depending on which party is in power, then they get an extra person. But on the whole, it's a fairly balanced experience at the election, at your election site.
And this is also important in this time where we have a bunch of clowns that want to run around and intimidate people. If you are bringing enough people to the polls to counterbalance the crazy, we've seen it. We've seen people show up to polling places armed. We've seen these things, and together we're a little stronger to resist those kinds of things. So if we can get people to work the polls, then it makes it safer and more efficient for the voter to get in and get out and be on their way. Also, another key aspect, I think, of this is, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. Forget about it. Go on to the next thing.
I was going to say maybe poll watchers as well.
Yeah, poll watchers. That's what it was. It was poll watchers. Just to kind of make sure. I know where I wanted to go. This is a great opportunity for you to engage our seniors and our students. And let me explain why. Seniors usually have a little bit more time during the day because they're typically retired, right? I'm not saying that all seniors are retired, but those that are, they want to feel a part of the system. They want to feel engaged. So reach out to your seniors and say, hey, if you're not working on election day, would you do a half a day, right? You can get someone to do half a day in the morning and then half day in the evening. Also, this is where you can reach out to your students. Indiana passed a law that says that students can get a day off from school, high school, to also work the polls, right? Kids love being out of school for a day. So this is a great way for you to engage two demographics who often feel overlooked and underheard. So this is just, we're just throwing some tips and tricks out there. I think will be very, very helpful.
Yep. And being a poll worker is also paid.
Oh yeah. And it's actually pretty fun. I was a poll worker this past November, and people coming in and engaging and having a good time. They had a good time voting, right? And it was fun. And you can bring your personality, whatever personality you can't bother them while they're voting, right? But if there's a line, that's just a whole audience. That's a whole audience for you to crack your jokes, tell your stories, and people love it. Now, there are some people who are serious and don't want to engage, but I really enjoy working the polls, but that's just me.
Yeah, and it is. They do have that provision for half days. Just make sure you double check, excuse me, and make sure that you communicate that if it is going to be a half day. Would prefer you to be able to do the whole day, but it is a very long day. It is before the polls open. So usually you'll have to arrive at 5 a.m. and then it'll be after the polls close. And, you've probably heard the mantra, if you're in line, stay in line. At 6 p.m. when the polls close, if you do still have a long line, then those poll workers have to stay until everyone's voted and then clean up all of the stuff as well afterwards. So it is a very long day, but we do encourage folks to join and attend as well.
Yeah, and we actually have to count the ballots and make sure that we have the right number of ballots based on what the machine tells us. Now, none of these machines are connected to the internet. I know y'all be thinking that Elon Musk is coming in. No, these machines, the Marion County machines, I know for certain are not. And if I'm not mistaken, Marion County machines are not. And I haven't heard of any other machines around the state that are connected to the internet. They are not. They're literally, the information is stored on a chip. And they're locked in a secure box. I've seen it all. I've seen the process. Our elections are so secure. I don't even know what these clowns are talking about.
Yep. And if you are curious, I know this is a bit of a tangent, but you should reach out to your PC about it too. They do public tests of all of the voting machines before the elections too. So you can attend and watch how an election is set up and watch how secure it is before the election actually happens.
I love it. All right. Give us something else that a PC would do.
Yep. And then we also, outside of just the general engagement in the voting and, organizing folks, when you're out and about, if your county party has some swag or if you want to order some in-dem swag, just wear it out. I know oftentimes we hear, oh, I'm the only Democrat, da 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 da. If you're wearing that, then people feel like they're not alone. And then one of the big things during the election cycle is we also ask you to volunteer with our candidates in your area. And bring in more volunteers for them as well. The campaigns run themselves. The state party doesn't run anyone's campaigns. County parties don't run anyone's campaigns. The candidates run their campaigns themselves, and they need people. Like we said, Most of the people who are involved in the party infrastructure are volunteers. The candidates are volunteers too.
Right.
And they need more volunteers to really go and spread that message. So we'll ask you to volunteer with the candidates in the campaigns during the election cycle. The first bit will be convincing folks on why our candidate is the best candidate. And then once voting starts, then we're going to switch you and ask you to help us with our GOTV or our Get Out the Vote. And that's really just mobilizing anyone who said that they're going to vote for our candidates. We're going to essentially annoy them until they vote.
Yeah.
And now we won't know that they vote for our candidates. We are going to expect that because they told us they will, they will. But we don't see anyone's individual vote. I know that's a rumor, but we essentially are going to bug someone until they vote, and we'll know when they voted. We won't know how they voted.
And so basically a precinct committee person is integral in voter turnout. We talked about how, Indiana is usually 48th, 49th, or 50th in voter turnout during an election cycle. One of the reasons why is because we're not actually, there's a plethora of reasons why voter turnout is down. But one of the things that we can correct, right, is voter engagement at the PC level. So we can help resolve some of our voter turnout issues by getting you to be a good PC and getting you to engage in your community. And then, like she said, bugging the mess out of them until they get to the polls. Guys, a lot of the problems that we have, we could all help fix. I just talking about it, Dayna, I'm getting excited because we really can solve these problems. All right, keep talking because now I'm excited.
Yep. And then, as you're going out and, consistently going out, you'll see people who are moving in. Send them a postcard. Hey, I noticed you moved to the area. Just wanted to welcome you. Or go and knock on their door. Getting back to being neighborly is a key thing about being a PC. As well as once you see someone new who's moving in, making sure that your county party chair knows that, hey, I've got a new person. Let's make sure that our lists are updated and accurate as people are moving into the neighborhood, those types of things. And then I think
that's very important when you think about all the apartments. Apartments are transit. I know when Stacey Abrams and their teams down in Georgia, how they were so effective was because they actually had an apartment strategy. How do we engage people in apartments that they're not the same as homeowners, right? Mm-hmm. They may only be there for a cycle. And when I mean a cycle, I mean 2 years, not even the full 4 years. So how do you engage them? Putting together a strategy to understand how to engage people in apartments. I think this is so valuable. Thank you, Dayna. Keep going. I interrupted you.
Yep. No, you're good. And with the apartment strategy, not just engaging those folks, but making sure they're registered to vote. Registering, we have to keep an eye on what's going on in the legislature right now, on how voter registration is going to occur, because, every time there's some election law. But in general, you can go out and make sure that, especially in those apartments or when you're seeing a new neighbor come in, make sure if they're registered to vote. In our counties that are, a little bit more well-educated, they are likely going to update their voter registration when they go to the BMV. But you can still go out and make sure that they're registered to vote at their current address. That's really a key thing. And then, in some of our other communities, you can do those voter registration drives. And it'll be more successful in those communities where they're more transient, or, where people are moving in and out, or, where people aren't necessarily going to be able to pop on down to the BMV in the middle of their workday. So being able to go out knocking door to door and getting them registered to vote at their current address, either with a paper form or you can do it online. There are some caveats on being able to do it online, but it is really easy to do it online.
Absolutely. And I actually created a QR code with the voter registration link. If I will make sure that I share that QR code with everybody. But here's what I usually do with QR codes. I save them as pictures on my phone. And so when I meet somebody that needs to register to vote, they can just scan the QR code and do it on their own device and stay with them. Right? Stay with them as they're walking through it, because they may have questions that, what does this mean? And you can help guide them through it. But literally, you can carry a voter registration, essentially a QR code that links back to the registration website on your phone, right? So that you're always prepared to help somebody get registered to vote. You don't have to carry around a tablet. You don't have to carry around a laptop, just a picture of a QR code on your phone, and you can register people to vote. That's just the most, I love that. When QR codes are my friend. I love them. I love them. All right, next.
Yep. And again, this is above and beyond. You want to be a super PC, helping us with fundraising. I'm saying helping us as a state party. If you want to help us fundraise, that'd be great. I always love it. But your county parties too, they're the ones who are doing a lot of these operations. They're the ones who are in charge of doing the get out the vote and a variety of other things. So if you can help the county party fundraise so that they can have those materials to do that get out the vote, that is great. And so you can, again, in your own precincts, have that neighborhood party. That's one thing, you might just want to invite folks, and it's not necessarily a fundraising event, but you can host a smaller fundraising event. You can have a house party. You invite some of your friends and they just get to know what's going on in the county and ask for a small donation there too.
Absolutely. And if you know me, you know who I work for. And there are great tools to help make your fundraising super easy. I'm just going to say it. Act Blue. It makes it easy for you. You don't have to worry about taking checks and getting them to the party. You can create what we call supporter forms, right? And like I do with Turn Left, we can create a supporter form, and then you can determine who the funds should go to. So say you want to do a joint fundraising for a particular candidate that you like, but you also want to do that same fundraiser for the county party you're in. You can literally create a supporter form, and it can be a tandem form, and the money is split evenly between the parties, and you never have to touch the cash. You never have to divvy up the money. And you're doing, let me tell you, you're doing such a great service without having to do a lot of heavy lifting. Reach out to me at dblack@actblue.com for more information about that. Okay, I know that this was not an Act Blue commercial, but whatever. What else you got, Dayna?
Really, honestly, the only other last thing is whatever your county party needs, right? As we've said, largely volunteer organization. Your county party chair is one person. They likely also have a day job. They likely also have some other duties, whether it's, they've got kids, they've got parents that they need to take care of, they've got friends that they want to see. They probably have other duties as well. So if you're a precinct chair and you have the time, help them make sure that their goals actually come to fruition. There's, again, like we said earlier, there's more of you than there are of them. And so if you all have hour, 2 hours a day, a week to be able to help, do social media communications, help them with the fundraising, help stuff envelopes if they're going to be doing some mailings, attending other meetings. That's another great source is if you have the ability to go to like your city council meeting or your town council meeting and hear what's going on and being able to get that back to the county party just to keep people aware of what's going on.
I love this because right now, Dayna, there are so many people with so much energy and they're not really sure how to channel it. And we have just given you a half an hour of how to channel that energy and be impactful. You may think you're only one person, but if a whole bunch of one persons gets together and gets some things done, we can really make a change in the way things are being done. Guys, we're not asking you to be rocket scientists. We're not asking you to go out and change the world in one day. We're asking you to go talk to the people that you live closest to. We're asking you to hear them out and share that information with your county party. Now, listen, Dayna, I know you've heard it. I've heard it too. And I'm going to tell you right now, it drives me nuts. I've heard people tell me over and over and over again, I reached out to the county party and they didn't let me help. Stop letting that be a barrier for you to participate. If you talk to the county party and you're not getting what you need, go around them. Right? So look, Dayna, if somebody were to email you and they say, hey, I reached out to my county party, you would still engage them, would you not?
Yeah. If you are interested in helping out your county party and county party doesn't respond or says, hey, we're good. especially if they don't respond, they're likely, again, they're a volunteer, they have another job, most likely, and they have other things. So they just might, it might take them a while to get back to you. So one thing that I know that I would love as a county chair is someone would bring me an idea of what they wanted to do, and they already were ready to do it.
Yes.
Right. And so if you've got an idea of what you want to do, say like, hey, here's what I want to do. I can do it on these days. That will make it so much more likely for you to be able to work with your county party, because then they don't have to plan another thing on top of the other things that they're already planning.
I love that. And bring solutions, right?
Yes.
It's one thing to bring, we know what the problems are, but you got to bring solutions as well. But my point is, you guys, there are people, I want to stop this, what is the party doing? And the party won't let me do that. We are the party. We are the people. If you don't like something about the direction of the party, or you feel like the party should be doing something, do it. You are the party. I don't know how else I can emphasize this enough. You are the party. You are the volunteer. I don't want to hear about what Chuck Schumer voted for. I'm not trying to hear that. I am talking about community engagement. I am talking about getting people engaged. I'm talking about knocking doors, volunteering, fundraising, things that you can do with the energy that you have in this moment and how you can utilize it. My goodness. And I'm so passionate about it because, Dayna, right now, we got clowns in Washington that are sharing war secrets in text messages. Mm-hmm. We gotta have we have a plan. We just outlined what you can do. So we just need you to do it and stop letting the naysayers and the people that you think have more power than you do, because they don't. They don't. And get involved. Get engaged. It's the little things. The talking to your neighbors, getting the information back to the county party chairs, getting the information back to the elected officials at the state house or at the city council or the county council, whatever it is, to the school board, and being able to bring solutions and making this thing feel like community. Right? We are a community. One of the great things about being a citizen of the United States is that we can learn so much from each other. We are so different in so many ways. Like whenever I see Rima Shaheed, I just get excited in my soul. She's in Ramadan right now. Mm-hmm. But I love spending time with her because I learn things. She comes from a very different place, but to the core, she is someone who is genuine. That's what I'm talking about. If I blocked myself off because she has a different religious belief than I do, I would be missing out on a gem of a human. And that's what I'm saying, guys. Just get engaged, get involved, and we just gave you an outline on how to do that.
Yep,
Dayna.
and maybe run some ideas past us to make sure that you can legally do them. That is my only caveat. There are some things that you will need to make sure that we can do legally. So just maybe run some things past us so that we can avoid jail, because FEC jail is real jail. Yes,
yeah. And that's the thing. If you have an idea, bring it. And we will, we can help you facilitate how to accomplish it. Like one of the things I tell people all the time, I am not a generator of great ideas. I'm really not. But I am an executor of great ideas. So if you bring me an idea of something you want to do, I can help you get it executed, right? And there are all those kinds of people in the world. So Dayna, this one got me excited because we gave people action items. I don't know if there's ever been a better call to action podcast than what we just did right here.
Awesome. I'm excited. Even though it is an off year, quote unquote off year, you can still get involved. And I think this is a great opportunity to get us back involved in that community and build our community for now and into the future, not just for elections, but we're going to have to rely on each other. It's scary times out there, and it's going to continue to be scary. So building up that community, not just for elections, but being able to really rely on it when times get weird is going to be key.
All right, Dayna Colber, Executive Director of our Indiana Democratic Party. She's so knowledgeable. She's so gracious, and she's great at this podcasting thing. I love it. Indiana's own Dayna Black Turned Left. We are bringing you the information to help you channel this energy. Thank you so much for joining me again today. We'll have another show. We'll figure out something else to teach you. We want to make sure that you know what to do in this time of turmoil and chaos so that we can get things, we can right this ship. All right, guys, we will talk to you next time. Peace.
Thanks, Dayna.
Bye.
Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions. Executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by www.bensound.com.